All right, well, speaking of Fifth Avenue, what are your thoughts on Trump saying that he has $500 million in cash on hand, despite he is something, despite his lawyers claiming that he couldn't post his $454 million bond? Yes, he wants you to know he has the money. He just won't give you the money because it's not fair. It's just fair.
There is some associate who had plans tonight at some law firm who is instead having to write a memo to the judge about how what they said was true, but also they're sorry that their client went out and said this other. I mean, being Trump's lawyers is the worst.
In a flash of incisive insight and witty humor instantaneous during a heated discussion, Bill Maher shifted his attention to Donald Trump's hotly contested financial moves. With Bill Maher's trademark humor and Sarah Isker's astute commentary, the segment provided a compelling look at a figure whose dramatic public statements continue to complicate his legal defense. Maher and Sarah Isker talked about Trump's bold claim of holding $500 million in cash, which stood in stark contrast to his legal team's argument that he couldn't afford a $454 million bond. This contradiction became the main topic of their conversation, raising serious questions about Trump's financial transparency and the challenging situation his lawyers find themselves in. Participate in the discussion and listen to their opinions.
Glory. No, he actually just got this guy is the luckiest guy in the world, but Trump Social, Trump Social, but Truth Social just got permission to go public.
Right.
And so his stake, because it's a meme stock, a little like GameStop, is worth $3.5 billion right now, and it could go higher if people bid it up.
He definitely made a deal with the devil. That's
something.
Because he always lucks out on everything.
Yeah.
He has the best enemies. Look at Michael Avenatti. Look at Fonnie Willis now in Georgia. The best enemies.
Right.
It helps him so much.
And Merrick Garland fucked it all up. He's dithered. Now we're probably not even going to see any of the trials.
The panel first discussed Trump's financial strength claim as a calculated attempt to project an image of power and stability regardless of his actual financial obligations. This carefully crafted messaging supports his broader brand as a resilient and successful figure. Next, the panel looked at the serious challenges his legal team faces, as they must constantly reconcile the gap between Trump's public statements and their arguments in court. Trump's off-the-cuff remarks often create difficulty.
iPhone monopoly. Yeah. Is it right? Yeah, well, the department has joined, I think, 16 states.
I'm aware. It's been a long time coming, and I think they haven't gone after any tech company. And these are big companies, and a lot of companies think they're taking too much fee, and there's no other choice. So
explain it to someone who doesn't give a shit about whether I can.
Well, some people argue they just make a great computer, and you want to be part of their system, right? That's one argument for them. And
I thought this was like the messaging is more difficult. Like if you have Android and I have Apple.
I have a mixed marriage.
Yeah.
It can be very challenging to have an Android iPhone marriage. With children, what are they going to have? I don't know.
Just so you know, iPhones.
So what? I mean. Maybe I'm
just green dot racism of our time. That's what people are.
But I never have not been able to get a message through to someone who had a different type of phone. I don't think
that means you had cell phone reception the whole time instead of Wi-Fi, because the cell phone reception maybe you can't get.
It's a question of choice. Is it why do we not get choice? And if these companies are too big, eventually it's their choice, not yours, and so they're unaccountable and they can do whatever they want.
But also DOJ has a horrible record on their antitrust suits so far over the last several years. So don't hold your breath.
That's because we haven't updated antitrust laws in 100 years.
Antitrust laws are totally made up. They just say competition. We don't have antitrust laws.
They're not defining them correctly in the new model.
Karis Risha contends that encouraging innovation and fair competition is crucial, cautioning that technological giants' unbridled corporate dominance stifles smaller startups and limits consumer choice. She supports updating antitrust laws to create a level playing field that permits new entrants to expand and compete. Her emphasis on innovation draws attention to a fundamental problem: how to regulate powerful tech companies without impeding technological advancement or discouraging investment. Sarah Iso, on the other hand, clarifies the more alarming features of tech monopolies. She describes how big businesses take advantage of the legal system to keep their hegemony, frequently employing extensive legal resources to put competitors at a disadvantage. These businesses may appear to comply with regulations, but they actually act to safeguard their own interests, such as by imposing stringent app store policies or giving preference to their own goods over those of rivals.
Of AT&T, like Standard Oil would still be running things. Giant companies, by their very nature, are unaccountable and get to do what they want, and that's always hurts competition. I'm interested in startups in AI, for example, being able to thrive. And so the whole strength of our country over something like China is that we go from the bottom up, not the top down.
But do you know what made all of those companies so powerful was the government regulations, because they could have the lawyers and the teams to do that the little guys then can't compete. Big companies love all those regulations.
No,
it
there
helps
aren't
them.
regulations. That's the whole point. Do you know how many regulations there are specifically addressing tech companies? Zero. And the one that does, actually, there is one that's Section 230, which is much debated. It gives them broad immunity. So they could walk down Fifth Avenue and hurt the self-esteem of a teen.
The conversation focuses on the shortcomings of the present antitrust rules, which were created to combat industrial monopolies like Standard Oil, but do not take into consideration the intricacies of the technology sector in contrast to more established businesses. Through platform ecosystems, network effects, and control over digital infrastructure, tech businesses dominate marketplaces. These factors encourage monopolistic practices that are not adequately controlled by regulations pertaining to market share or pricing. Since current legal frameworks cannot stop tactics like platform GIN or exclusive control over app ecosystems without updated legislation, the necessity for modernization is evident. Customers have fewer options, greater expenses, and less innovation in vital fields like artificial intelligence and digital services. However, excessive regulation runs the risk of impeding the very innovation that propels technical improvement and economic prosperity. One of the most important challenges facing policymakers is finding the ideal balance between encouraging innovation and regulating.
That suggest men are getting more conservative and women more liberal. Oh, well, duh. It's not a...
I read that and I asked my 15-year-old daughter Molly the question, and right away, without skipping a beat, she said, women are getting too much power and men don't like that. And I thought about it, and I thought about the abortion ruling in Texas, harder there to get an abortion than anywhere else. Individual counties are now banning women from driving on their roads to leave the state to go get an abortion in New Mexico or someplace where it's legal. The IVF ruling in Alabama, it's not about life, it's about control, and it's about power. And I think that helps to explain some of that divide that we're seeing right now. But it also gives me some hope that women in Texas, across this country, who understand this and are living through it more than anyone else, are going to help lead the comeback against it. So watch out in Texas, watch out across this country.
I have 3 boys, and I have to say they're not that way. It's not because I raise them that way. They get to do whatever they want. But it's a really interesting thing, because we talk about this idea, and I think what they want to do is not be jerks, essentially. They're trying to sort of avoid that. And it's really difficult that everyone has to sort of, as you were saying earlier, name themselves. You have to always put labels on yourself. And I think young people, especially 18 to 25, really just don't want that in lots of ways. They want to be told what to do, not necessarily not told what to do, but not define themselves. And I think if we just stop doing that a lot more, it would be...
With women leaning more liberal and males going more conservative, recent polls reveal a widening ideological gap that has spurred a larger discussion on the social and political factors influencing the trend. According to Bick, the division results from larger conflicts about personal liberties and rights. He noted that since these issues directly affect women's daily lives, restrictive policies like restrictions on personal autonomy have inspired many of them to support more progressive viewpoints. Thank you for participating in our discussion. If you found this content insightful, please subscribe to the channel for more videos.